Ruth, you are the founder of Top Schools, a Hong Kong-based consultancy for international school admissions in Asia and independent school admissions in the UK.
I am.
Right? How long have you been doing this?
I have been doing this in this form since 2012, so coming up for 14 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
long time.
Time flies.
Can you tell me, what was your journey to get here?
It was not straightforward. So obviously, you think that when you're in high school, like, what do you want to be? I want to be a this or a that. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that I'd be doing this. How far do you want me to go back? I mean,
From the beginning.
Yikes.
What was your journey here?
I dropped out of school at 16. I hated school. Went to a private girls' school in my area, and all I wanted to do was work in the music business. I'd been infatuated with a couple of bands, as teenage girls tend to be, and I lived in London. So I had the very fortunate position that I was able to access some of these bands, and I kind of infiltrated myself into different places. So I eventually did get a job with one of the bands. So that was it. I went to, I was first year of college, and I had a very, very long conversation with a lecturer who very much tried to dissuade me from dropping out, but I wasn't having it. I was dropping out. That job fell through, actually. But it was okay. I was having lots of fun. And then I did get to work for Virgin Records, a subsidiary of Virgin Records. I got to meet Richard Branson. I went to his parties. And that wasn't as glamorous as we all thought it was. And I left the UK in 1991. So I grew up in the UK, as I said, in London. And I left in 91. I went to the States. I was just looking for something because I knew that it wasn't in London for me. I didn't like the weather. I couldn't get a boyfriend. It just wasn't working. So I thought I'd take off. And then various things, my boyfriend at the time, his mother was unwell, and we had to go back to the UK, and then we needed to go again, and we didn't know where. So I remember literally looking at the atlas, and for you youngsters, that's a book of maps. It was a very huge one, and we had to look at, he had a friend who had an auntie who had a friend who worked in Hong Kong. And we said, okay, where's that? It's like somewhere in China. But at the time, of course, it was a British colony, and we had British passports. And so one of the pain points of being in the States was not being able to work legally. And we thought, well, we can go to Hong Kong, we can work legally, we can save up some money, and then we'll go to Australia. And that's what we did. We bought a one-way ticket to Hong Kong in 1995, and I'm still here. It's a really common story.
Australia didn't work out?
I went for visits, and no, Hong Kong just kind of got me. Yeah, you've heard that.
It got me too. I got my PR 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yes, congrats. Yes, that's a big milestone.
It is, yeah. So go on. You came to Hong Kong just like that? Did you have a plan?
Well, the plan was just to stay for 12 months and save up some money. And I had no skills, I had no degree, I had no profession, so I taught English. Again, very common story. And I did that for a little while. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't enjoy teaching children. I started to teach adults, which I enjoyed more. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I do want to do it properly. So I did go to university. I started as a postgrad diploma because I was already 20-something.
Was that in Hong Kong?
Yeah. I did sort of these external programs. I did a postgrad diploma with a UK university, which was Sheffield, Hallam. And then I later did a master's with University of South Australia, but I did it here.
Right.
So I did get educated eventually. That's not what I necessarily advocate for my children or for the families we work with. They tend to want a more traditional education, like a linear path. But I didn't do that. And I did need to go to university. I was wanting to work in a university and it was needed, just to tick the box to be a graduate if you're going to be teaching undergraduates. So I had to do that, and that's fine. I understand that. I was working in a university, and we used to do corporate training, so engineers, lawyers, accountants, and then we started to do more government contracts. So we were doing things like the basic law examination or different government departments. And one of them was the education department came to us, and they needed examinations for teachers in schools that at that time needed to demonstrate their proficiency in English. So we got the contract, and I was teaching teachers in local schools. And that opened my eyes, and I was like, I used to go into the classrooms and observe the lessons, and this was before I had my own children, but I thought, well, this is not how I remember school. Even though I didn't enjoy my school days, I didn't see happy children and happy teachers in classrooms, and that kind of stuck with me. And then I had my own children in 2005, 2007, and we decided as a family that we wanted our children to be bilingual and biliterate in Chinese and Putonghua. And it was early, it was an unusual choice among our friends. They were all sending their children to ESF schools or Kelit school, pure English language, and I had to start the very torturous journey of trying to figure it all out. And I thought, well, hasn't someone done this before? Are we the first ones ever to think about, how complicated it is to choose a school for our children, and how we really wanted to someone who was an expert in this area. And there wasn't anyone. And so I thought that I could start to publish information about it, because this was in the days of, what do you call them, like bulletin boards, like forums, or internet forums. Right? I make myself so very, very old. Internet forums for parents who wanted to share information, get some support. So I started that. It was called HongKongBabies.com. And somebody contacted me and said she was moving to Hong Kong, and she was a very complicated situation. Could I help her to find a school in Hong Kong? And I said, no, that's not really... Yeah, okay, I can do that. I can do that. And I just found myself sort of saying, why not? No one knows more than I did at that point. I felt that I was in a very good position to be able to help her. She knew nothing, and I knew a lot. So I thought, well, there's a knowledge gap there that I can provide value. And so I started. That was terrible. That was one of my worst experiences. It was so stressful. But baptism by fire.
Right.
And so then I started doing more talks to parents and visiting the schools, and just really honing my craft and really learning. And here we are in 2026.
Wow.
Sorry, that was a very long rambling
No, that's
background.
perfect. So it sounds like you got into this by trying to help your your children.
Yeah, I guess
And then you
so.
realized that, other parents needed the same thing.
Because of my background with the education department and knowing about local schools, and we work with parents in the private school sector, whether that's in Hong Kong or elsewhere. But in Hong Kong, it's very niche. There are very few, like 6% of children in Hong Kong attend private schools.
Is that number rising, or?
Probably. But then the definition of private schools is also expanding and getting a little bit there's more technical differences of different private schools within the whole big umbrella of private schools. But it's a good question. It probably is rising because we see local schools closing, and they're called kaput schools in Hong Kong.
Kaput, like French for dead.
Yes, I think so. I think it's an old...
Why is it called kaput schools?
I don't know. There's a whole vocabulary of Hong Kong words, right? Like schroff, or that somewhat come from colonial. Some of them are like Indian phrases. I don't know.
Oh,
we'll look it up. Is it spelled C-A-P-U-T or C-K-U-K-A-P-U-T? It's C-A-P-U-T.
Yeah, sounds like right. So, at university, were you studying education? What was it?
No,
at the
I
two
did.
universities?
The first diploma I did was teaching English, and then I ended up doing a bit more linguistics,
I
like
see.
English language. And then the degree I did, master's degree, was, you'll laugh, it was communications management. And a lot of the content of that degree, this is in 2000, was new media. And so we were thinking about the whole idea. I mean, it was before Facebook, I'm not sure if Friends Reunited had started. I don't know if you remember that.
Don't know what that was.
Yeah, that's okay. Anyway, it was before social media. We called it new media, and it was this whole idea that you don't necessarily, as an individual, the balance of power is shifting from merely consuming content to actually being able to create content. So I think the blogs, you don't need to wait for a publisher. Just write your own blog and put it out there. And then, of course, this has moved on so much in the last 20-something years.
Yeah, no, that's really exploded now. Yeah. Like even us being
what we're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to go back to, so I called this podcast Purpose and Meaning. And in this day and age, that's kind of attributed to the work and like the career that you do, for a lot of people. So I just wanted to ask, is that the case for you? Like, do you even consider yourself to have a purpose and meaning? And is it linked to this job that you do now?
I think that I love what I do. There's definitely purpose and meaning in what I do. And yeah, I love it. I wouldn't keep doing it if I didn't. Like I said, I wanted to work in the music biz, and I thought that was super glamorous, and it's not. So I stopped doing it. I worked in banks. Oh my gosh, I've done so many things. But no, there's definitely purpose and meaning in what I do.
What is it about this job that gives you that?
Well, it's
that
not
love?
a job.
Okay.
Because I do it like morning, noon, and night, 24/7, and
part of life.
It is part of who I am. I'm not sure if that sounds a bit weird and scary, or makes me sound like, a bit weird. What is it? You were going to ask me, what is it?
What is it about this, not job, but thing that you're doing in life? What is it that's giving you that? You said you love what you do, that love. What do you love about it?
Well, if you think, what we do, and it's not just me, I have great team, and of course I couldn't do it without all of the people that, that support us, so whether it's the schools, but if I'm helping one set of parents, usually it's two parents in a family, who have a problem. And it's a serious problem because they're really confused about which pathway to choose for their child. And if they choose the wrong one, there could be serious repercussions down the line. And so it's a really important decision that we're supporting them to take. And so when we get it right, which I think is almost always, I hope, I hope that we've made a difference, not only in the lives of the parents, but in the life of that child. And when I think about my own children, the schools that they've been in, the decisions that we made for them were crucial to further on down the line as to what they're doing now. And whether this obviously they're still young and they've got lots to come. But I think it's a really meaningful. It's more meaningful than choosing, you buying a house. I mean, that is an important decision, but you can sell it and move. If you choose the wrong school for your child and your child isn't happy, and then you think about the family dynamics and the repercussions of that, and then, it's a lifestyle choice. Choosing a school is not just choosing a school, it's genuinely a lifestyle choice, I
guess
believe.
It sets them up for the trajectory of their life.
Yeah,
right?
Of course they can move schools, but it can be very upsetting, and it can be very traumatic. And so I don't know what might be more important than choosing a school for your child, because it's almost like, especially when they're very young, like some of the schools in Hong Kong are so competitive. You basically get one shot at this. So you have to enter schools when the children are young. And if you miss this one cycle, it just makes it so much harder in the future. So, I think that's meaningful.
Yeah. What is the consequence of the child being in the wrong school, what happens?
Well, it depends on what age. You know, if they're very young, if they just didn't get in, like because for whatever reason, it's just really, really hard to get in later on. It's just easier to get in when they're young, when there's the highest number of spaces available. If we're talking about later on, I mean, usually we don't want to support a family to move a child to a different school just for the sake of it. Usually there's a problem, like it's a serious problem. My child's unhappy at school. So we hear some really, children, super young children on the brink of depression or being diagnosed with depression, being diagnosed with a lot of different stuff. We won't get into that. Self-harm, eating disorders, school refusal, a lot of teenagers just refusing to go to school. So we're seeing a huge rise in homeschooling. And then you have to ask yourself, what are all the repercussions of that? So I think those are some of the symptoms of a child being in the wrong school.
Okay.
Unhappy family life.
How far is that them being in the wrong school, or just the child needs some support or help?
Yeah,
Does changing school always fix the problem?
No,
I assume not.
Yeah.
So how do you know when it's the wrong school?
Yeah, that is a really good question. So you might say I'm a schools advisor or an education consultant, but it's more than that. It comes down to a lot of parenting support. And that's why, we work with the parents first before we meet the children. So you're right, divorce, a death in the family, parents who work so much that they're not really developing a strong relationship with their child. And of course, I also feel a little bit, I have to be careful because I don't have any special qualifications in counselling or psychology or anything like that. So we'll call in the experts. So we have a number of different, but it's a good question. You're right. Changing the school will not always solve the problem. And I think that's why we want to work with parents who understand what we can do and what we can't do. If parents think that, okay, I got my child into this school, and schools are careful about this as well. They want to understand that this is still a partnership. We can't imagine a situation where parents are outsourcing the entirety of their child's education to the school. They're like, great, we got in, we're done, bye.
My hands are
see you in
clean,
15
right?
years. Schools absolutely do not want that. And so that's why the process of getting in is rigorous, and they want to be sure that isn't, as sure as they can be, that that's not going to happen.
Okay.
Parenting's tough. I mean, it's the hardest job in the world.
Great respect for parents, like especially here in Hong Kong. The life here does seem more demanding than maybe elsewhere. Well, like the work hours seem longer.
Yeah.
There's less. There's a lot of pressure as well to succeed on the children, because I've taught students in the past, and we've had like infants come in for test prep. 2-year-olds doing test
nuts.
prep. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not generally in favour of that. I don't know, because, we work in the UK as well. But again, we're working in the independent sector where the children are very fortunate to have a lot of support. And there are expectations on the children to do well. But there were no such expectations on me. My parents, they didn't. It was so hands-off compared to today. I think it's changed not just in Hong Kong. I think it's changed across the developed countries, because I do see similar stresses in the UK.
Really?
Particularly London. London is nuts.
That's interesting, because my experience was similar to yours. It was very relaxed. I think almost too relaxed in the UK. Didn't realize that it's changing there as well now. I thought this was a Hong Kong problem or like a Singapore problem.
I think it's also a socio-economical status problem, because if all the parents that we're working with, or in Hong Kong we're working with, educated professional parents who have the means to send their children to private school. So they take it super seriously. There are obviously different sort of demographics within the society in Hong Kong and the UK. and we're talking about state school, like local school, which is free to attend, I imagine that there are differences there. But yeah, we are talking about, it's kind of a little bit of a bubble, right? I think we have to recognise that. We're very fortunate, and our children are very fortunate, but within that bubble, it's taken very, very seriously.
Okay. Well, yeah, thank you for that, because I can see how, how passionate you are about helping families to get their children into the right schools and, set them up for life, pretty much. But I want to go back to kind of your earlier, life when you were talking about wanting to be in the music business, and what made you not want that anymore? You mentioned it wasn't as glamorous as you thought. Was there?
Yeah.
What was it?
And I've got friends who stayed in the biz, and it's tough. It's a really tough life. It's a business. And if you think how it's changed from what it was then, I was working in A&R, which is artists' repertoire, signing new bands, because bands need to get record deals, right?
That sounds fun, though.
It was fun, but bands don't need to get record deals anymore. But I was talking to a very good friend of mine, and she runs her own business. It's tough, but it is a business, I still enjoy music. Music is I just love seeing live music. There's nothing like it. But yeah, and also I guess it probably just didn't work out for me for one reason or another, and that's fine. It just wasn't meant to be.
But I want to ask why, because every business is tough, right?
Yeah.
Nothing's easy. But so why? I just want to understand, how come you came to this place where you are now? Not like Hong Kong, but I mean doing what you do and nothing. Why didn't anything else stick the way this did?
Because I don't like to follow rules, and I was a rather junior employee in a company, and I needed to do what I was told to do, and that's just not who I am, if I'm honest. Since you ask it in that way, I've had multiple jobs. I worked in a subsidiary of Virgin Records, which has since closed down. I worked in Morgan Stanley in London, and I worked in HSBC in Hong Kong for 7 years, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did my time. And, my husband is a great employee, and I know that there's lots of people who like the structure of a larger company. They like the security of, putting in the hours, as you say, and they are long hours. Put in the hours, and you get a fixed amount of money at the end of the month, and they like that. And I don't need that. I love running my own business. I love the freedom. My core values are family, freedom, and future.
Oh.
And so I guess that's the answer to your question.
Okay. So you wanted more freedom, more
100%.
agency over what you were doing. Okay. Is that the same reason why, the bank as well, you didn't stay there? But 7 years is a long time, so you
Too
must
long.
have.
Yeah. Well, I was earning good money at the time, and there's obviously a time in your life where, we're all conditioned, and we probably teach our children, whether that's right or wrong, that the right thing to do is to do well in school, go to university, get a good degree, get a good job, get a good salary. And so that is the expectation for most people. And so you do need a little bit of money behind you if you're going to quit.
Of course,
and try something completely new. So I guess, and I think it's good. I think it's good experience to work in a corporate environment, because most people do. Most of my clients do. So I have that understanding, and it's not for everyone to be an entrepreneur, but it wasn't for me.
What do you tell your children? do you tell them that get a good job, get a good salary? What do you tell them, knowing what you know?
They don't listen to me, so whatever I tell them, it's modelling. I think you have to show them, and so they understand. My daughter in particular has been a little bit involved with business for some years. She helps me out at events, and I have told her, because she doesn't have a direction in life. And I have said that if she just doesn't know what she wants to do when she graduates, she'll just come to work for me for a bit, with me for a bit.
Oh.
No, I don't tell them anything. But the influences are not obviously just from parents. The influences are out there. You know, their teachers, but their peers are by far, I think, the more influential.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't you think, for young people?
I had a bit of a different experience because I moved around so much, so I didn't have really peers that were there long enough to influence me. But it's interesting to hear that. I would have thought it would be like parents and like the culture and maybe peers somewhere.
No, peers in person and peers online. Because, you know, you talk to, my children are 19 and 20, so, but, you know, you talk to 14, 17, 18, 19-year-olds, they're paying a lot of attention to what they see online. And obviously that might be a problem, but
yeah, that's
different
true.
topic.
If they fall into like the wrong kind of online. Yeah, but have you noticed that your children are similar to their friends, I guess?
No, I think I don't want to speak for them, you know, because they are adults and they have their own thoughts and views on the world. But I think from my point of view as a parent, I've done my best, and now my job is, I think the first few years are crucial. Because I work with a lot of parents of young children, and you know what you said earlier about working a lot. It is a symptom of modern life in Hong Kong, and I do worry about that because I took some time off when my kids were babies. I was a little bit of an earth mother, thinking back. You know, I really saw the importance of being as good a mother as I possibly could be in the early years. And then as soon as they were old enough, and then they went to school, and then they've seen me working a lot and, you know, running my own business. So they get what I do. Their father, as I said, is a lawyer. He's worked in the same company for all the time, works super hard, but different. The first few years are so important, I believe. And I think as a parent, you impart your values onto your children in the early years, and your values are not just what you say but what you do.
It's mostly what you do, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, if it doesn't show up in your behaviour, then they're not your real values.
Yeah, definitely. I can think back to my own parents as well. Like, if there's an incongruence between what they're doing and what they're saying, I always did what they were doing, like paid more attention to that. I guess it's the same for everybody. Okay, so I want to go back to when you were just first starting top schools. You mentioned like some lady reached out to you and asked for help. How did you go about helping her in that very early time?
Well, I didn't know as much as I know now. So I just listened a lot. You know, she had her own views on things, and I guess I'm a good connector as well. I'd been in Hong Kong for quite some years already by that point, and so I knew a lot of people. So I think, you know, I listen a lot, understand your limitations. You know, you can't. I know that I kind of say fake it till you make it. Like I said, I could help this lady to find a school, but I genuinely believe that I could. And I know that and I still today, if I genuinely haven't got the piece of information that they need, or I haven't got the skills, I'll bring it in. Find someone who does. You know, it takes a village. What was your question? How did I go about helping her?
The very beginning.
Oh, it was traumatic. I remember staying up in her hotel room at like midnight writing out application forms. She was going through an acrimonious divorce. She was in New York. She'd just got her children into the top New York school, and now she was being yanked out to Hong Kong for work opportunities, so she wasn't very happy about it. So it's emotions, you know, it's managing still what I do every day. I have a very sort of split personality, I think, in what I do. I have to be very strategic and somewhat mechanical in, you've got to do this, don't do that. But at the same time, listening to parents who this is their child, and it's probably their first child, and this is so important, and this is their future, and they have their worries and their paranoias and their doubts, and it's about trust. It's about developing that trust that I know what I'm doing, and I can't ever make the decision for them. It's only my role to sort of guide them towards giving them a few good options. And once we've got a few good options, either one, it will be fine,
Okay. Sorry, just to go back to that very first person, because you said it was traumatic and it was very emotional, but that didn't put you off doing this, clearly. So it's interesting, even though it sounds like it was
because it's so high stakes, she was upending her whole life to move to Hong Kong. She'd already taken the job and she'd already hired me to help her find schools for her children. So what if I messed up? It's high stakes. So you have to take it seriously. And of course, then the payoff, that they get into the right school and they're happy, and then they call you up and they say, oh, thank you so much. It's just, it's...
But that must be nice,
yeah,
right?
Of course.
When the parents get back to you and say, thank you so much, you've helped us, changed our life. Did it work out well with that?
It did,
first lady?
Yeah,
okay.
And I'm not as good as I should be. I'm still not as good as I should be checking in with people like 6 months or 1 year or even 2 years later. But again, like you say, we're all very busy. Hong Kong is a little bit transactional like that. So kind of once they get in, sometimes we don't keep in touch as much as we would like. But again, Hong Kong's a small place. And I've got children who graduated now.
Awesome.
So they'll be having children. Maybe we'll do the second generation in a few years.
Do the children remember you?
I don't think so. We work a lot more with the parents than we do with the children, actually.
Yeah, you mentioned. But you have to, get to know the child too, right?
If they're of a certain age, if they're sort of 12 plus, we do. But again, I'm not an early childhood educator. For the little ones, we work with other experts that do some of that.
Yeah, just one more question about that first lady. Do you think if it had turned out badly, do you think you'd still be doing this? Or
who knows?
I guess you can't really answer that. But yeah, it's just interesting to hear how people got started. Yeah. And
I think I saw a need for it because, you have experts for all sorts of things in your life. You have an accountant. I mean, I wouldn't dream of doing my own taxes. Can you imagine? Or you have people hire wedding planners, for that most important day of their life. And I thought, well, why don't people have, an expert, a school advisor? And there are a lot more of them now, obviously. But yeah, I think I probably would have given it at least another. You got to try 3 times, right?
Just 3 times?
3 strikes and you're out. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know.
Some people recommend hundreds, but yeah.
Oh, your 10,000 hours thing, or just...
that's the one where it takes like 10,000 hours to become good at something.
Yeah, that's Malcolm
like
Gladwell's thing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually had this analogy, like, if it depends what you're doing. Like, if you're an interior designer or if you're playing the stock market, a fail isn't the end of the world. A fail just means, well, you lost some money, or you painted the wall in the wrong colour, or you try again. But as I say, I think it's such high stakes, like choosing a school for your child, like it's such a crucial element of that family's lifestyle and their plan that you can't really mess it up.
Yeah, it's not like losing a little bit of money and then you can get back to the exact equilibrium. It will change it kind of forever, won't it? Can I ask, what does a successful day look like for you? What happens?
Getting enough sleep, which is not happening at the moment. I thought about this question. It's changed. And it changes through different phases of your life. I'm an empty nester now. Looking after my health is a key. It's something I think about a lot more than I used to, for example. So I need to get enough sleep. Are you, in terms of work, what is a successful day?
I meant it in terms of work, but I guess if you have other stuff that comes to mind, maybe that's more important.
just having some good conversations. It's all about connections and relationships with people. You know, if somebody says, oh, you know, great, thanks, you know, that was really helpful, that's a good day. If we get a good offer, you know, obviously that's a good day. If one of my team members reaches out for help and we're able to solve a problem. But I think most days are good. It's fighting fires, isn't it? But then you get the satisfaction about having put the fire out.
What was your most satisfying fire that you put out? Do you have like a...
Recently? In terms of work?
Yeah, was there like a particular family that was just very in need or just was very difficult and you managed to...
That's every day.
Really?
But you know, they're all different, and the modern family is just so interesting, and I just love getting to know people, and yeah, we've got so many different families. I'm being asked more and more, like years and years ago I had this questionnaire that was like, well, I still have a questionnaire, like an intake form where I had mother and father, and one of my clients said to me, they're not a mother and father family, so they said, could you just put parent one, parent two? And I was happy to do that, right? It was same-sex couple, so I was like happy to do that. So now, of course, since then, we've always referred to parent one and parent two. And then now I'm starting to get a little pushback that, you know, like, oh, well, maybe they're not parents. And I'm like, well, they are parents. But there's a lot, well, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that.
Well, that's so weird. If they're not parents,
modern
what are they?
families. Well, that's a very good question. So I'll push back on that and say that they are parents. But we have to be also cognizant that it's not just a mother-father family. You know, there's lots of variations. We've had obviously a lot of same-sex couples, or surrogates, or single parents,
Blended families too, right?
Yeah, a lot of that. Yeah, a lot of step siblings and all of that. So super interesting.
So you mentioned earlier you have to manage a lot of emotions as well. How does it manifest in terms of what you do, the parents' emotions?
I think a lot of parents try to, it's about building trust, right? So these are they're very successful, professional, working people, and in the corporate environment, they're used to putting on a little bit of an act, right?
Oh, really?
Don't you think?
Well, I don't deal with parents the way you do, so I'm not...
Professional, working, I mean, I suppose...
Oh, you mean like posturing, the way people...
Well, if you look at some of your friends, what's the social media app of choice that you're using these days?
Well, I use LinkedIn mostly.
But for your friends, how do you connect?
How do we connect?
Yeah.
Just WhatsApp?
Oh, WhatsApp. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we use Facebook, right? So my generation, and you know, if you take a friend and you look at their Facebook feed, it looks their life looks amazing, right?
Oh, okay.
But that's their Facebook feed, because you know, obviously behind the scenes there's stuff going on, and obviously family life is complicated. So when I first meet my parents, it's a little bit like the sanitized Facebook feed version.
Ah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And then over time you uncover
and then it's about
the
building
real...
trust. Yeah, because you know, like we've got, and we can see the signs. You know, I've got a number of families at the moment. I'm like, this doesn't add up. We're not sure what the story is behind this. You know, so. And so we have to get there. So it is a process. It's just about building trust. I've had lots of tears, lots and lots of tears. But yeah, the emotions. If we do a good job, I think we need them to be super honest with us, and then we'll be super honest with them, and that's when we do our best work.
What kinds of things do parents like conceal, and they're not honest up front until much later?
The amount of time they spend with their children.
Really?
Yeah.
So, wait, what do they say?
They say they spend more time than they do, you know, in reality, because there's a lot of outsourcing. We've got, you know, domestic helpers in the house. They've got nannies, they've got drivers, they've got grandparents. What else are they slightly not as honest about in the beginning? Language use is a big one in Hong Kong.
Language use?
Because Hong Kong families are the language landscape. You have English, Cantonese, and Mandarin. Right? Sometimes you have one, sometimes you have two, many times you have all three. So it's about like when do they use what language and where and with whom. And that's important for understanding like their child's linguistic development. And we have to get to the bottom of that. I find that interesting.
Wait, so what do they say about that?
So I believe that there's some sort of status associated with saying that your child is native in English, and that may not be the case. You know, if you're growing up in a Cantonese family, you know, with Cantonese grandparents, and they go to a school, you know, so it's that.
Right. Yeah.
And it's posturing. It's like what you were saying earlier, and it's not necessarily in the child's best interests to say something that's not true. It's almost never.
But is that because the parents genuinely believe their kid is that good at that language?
Sometimes, I think so. Yeah, sometimes they do tell themselves a story.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But there's a lot of that, because as a parent, you know, obviously you think your children are amazing.
Yeah, you're amazing.
And then you think they're
great.
beautiful and all the rest of it. So, we have to, give them a little bit of reality, a dose of reality sometimes.
Okay. Do you ever find that if parents think their child is at the wrong school, the problem isn't the school? It's like the parents themselves? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, sometimes. I think we have a lot of parents who want to, what's the word? They want to advance on the rungs of the ladder. Like, so there are the top schools in Hong Kong, and they're brands, if you like. You know, so you have a parent who has a child in like a second tier school, and they're perfectly happy, and there's nothing wrong with it. But they just have these ambitions. They're like, well, they feel like they need to keep up with the Joneses.
Right. So it's about climbing the ladder rather than about the child really needs to go to a different school.
Yeah.
So do you ever find yourself encouraging them to stay
Sometimes,
at the current
yes.
school?
Yes.
How is that received?
We would do that in the situation where we feel that their child just simply won't be successful in the top tier school, because they are competitive and they're not for everyone. We just don't want them to go through that process of disappointment. It's a lot of effort to apply, to do some of the preparation that you mentioned earlier. And if a child is already at least like 6, 7 or 8 years old, they kind of know what's happening. They're potentially going to be pulled out of the school that they love, where their friends are, to go to a different school and all of that. So, we do. If it's in the interests of the child, I'm certainly not in the business of moving children for the sake of it.
Right. Okay. So with the very top schools, what does it take for a child to thrive? Because you said some children will not be successful. What kind of children are successful?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's what you were saying earlier. There's a lot of expectations on the children. So a lot of them are very smart, and I think that's nature. They got good genes, good gene pool. They got good genes. They're smart, but then that has to be nurtured, and then that's where the school comes in. But there's a lot of they have to be. Depends on the school, but I'm so much more in favour. Well, it's about having balance as well. You know, it's fine. Take your academic studies seriously. Work hard, 100%. Do whatever you are going to do in life to the very best of your ability. But have fun. Don't forget. And I feel like a lot of families in Hong Kong, a lot of parents, they forget that this connection as a parent to your child, this bonding that happens when you're reading a story at night, or when you take your child swimming. It doesn't have to be a swimming lesson. Just throw them in the pool and see what happens. You know.
Right.
I have you heard of the term free range parenting?
Like laissez-faire parenting?
Maybe, yeah.
I've heard it, but I always thought that would be a bad thing. It's like so hands off.
That's probably a bit extreme, yeah.
Okay.
So I think there's always a balance in everything that we do. But I just feel like a lot of Hong Kong life, a lot of family life in Hong Kong, we live in apartment buildings. We don't have any outdoor space. So it's a sterile, it's very hygienic, and then they go to school, they go to their classes, they go to swimming lessons, they go to music lessons, they go to phonics lessons, and then they go home. And I feel like as a parent, we always try to give our children a bit more than that. We took them to, Hong Kong's got so much to offer in terms of country parks and outdoorsiness, the beaches.
There's a lot of play parks as well, which are indoor, but they have climbing walls and all
but you're
kinds
just
of
not getting the
activity.
same.
Oh, you mean more like a natural nature thing? Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, Hong Kong is so great for that you're in this dense city, but you can take a 10-minute train and then you'll be at the beach or in a mountain.
And taking risks, supporting our children to be resilient is a term that I think most parents are familiar with. It doesn't happen in a classroom.
No?
No.
How does it happen, the resilience?
It happens through taking risks and trying things that are uncomfortable or doing things that are really hard and failing, So I can speak as a parent, as an advisor. The kids did so many different activities and like outdoors and being independent on their own, early. I'm a big proponent of that.
Mm-hmm. So they can stand on their own 2 feet and...
Because, and my children have said, like my children are first and second year university, they've said that there are children in university that they meet, they're like, these kids, they don't even know how to get on a bus. Mm-hmm. What have they been doing their whole lives? Right?
I've met kids like that, back at uni. I met a girl who had never taken the bus before. She didn't know what to do when you got on. Yeah, it's crazy. What kind of thing, how do you make a child independent early on? What kind of ways do you foster that when they're very young?
Okay, I'm not a parenting expert, so I can only speak from my own.
Ah, you're a parent. That makes you an expert.
Parent. You can't make them do or be anything, right? You have to give them the opportunities and the environment to try lots and lots of different things. So you do that. So it could be classes, but lots and lots of different things, and fun things. And then once they have agency, once they're 5 or 6 or 7, and they start to, you allow them to have an opinion and to form their own ideas and listen. It comes back to what I do with my adults, right? Just listen. Mm-hmm. When I was growing up, it was a lot more about your parents tell you what to do. Mm-hmm. And that phrase that you said earlier, that my parents said to me many, many times, don't do as I do as I say.
Ah, my parents said that too. Yep, all the time.
I hope I've never said that to my child. They'll say, oh, you absolutely have. So just giving them lots of opportunities to have their own opinion. I took some parenting courses when they were very young, and I read some books, and I remember my daughter, she's such a free spirit. The advice was you give your child choice, right? She might have been 3 at the time. So you don't tell your child what to wear, because that would just be, that's wrong. You give your child a choice. I said, okay, darling, would you like to wear the green pants or the blue pants? Yellow. And that was her from the start, from 3. So she's my mini me, I guess. So you get just giving them lots of opportunities to do lots and lots of different things, listening to them, respecting their choices, but then knowing when to be a parent. Mm-hmm. And knowing when you have to tell them that there are certain things that they are expected to do, that they have to do for their own safety or for their own good, because we are the parents and we do know best most of the time.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's really interesting. I hope to be a parent one day as well. So I'm just trying to pick up as much wisdom as I can.
Yeah, I don't know. You can ask them. It's a tough gig.
Wonderful. Okay, I need to check what time it is so we don't overrun. Okay, we're about to overrun. All right, well, thank you so much, Ruth. We are unfortunately coming to the end of our time together, but this was really insightful and very inspiring as well to hear your journey, and quite comforting as well to know that you don't need to have everything figured out from the beginning, and you can actually try lots of different things, and that doesn't mean that like you're failing or it's a bad thing. Like you will eventually find what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and I think, can I just say one more thing
Of
on
course,
that? I
yeah.
think the education system is changing to really support children to find their passions and do whatever it is in life that's really going to give them meaning and fulfillment. And what I'm seeing also now, I've got a number of my connections, and I in my circles and of maybe similar age to you, like maybe older, bit mid-30s, who did the traditional route, who did very, very well, who went to very good schools and became doctors and lawyers, and then went to work and got very good jobs, and then some years later they just kind of went, what am I doing? And just quit to do something else that is more meaningful.
Yeah, that's what the midlife crisis is, right? When people
in
realize...
your 30s.
Well, maybe it's happening earlier than before, but I always thought that that's what it was, when people realize they've been following a script that wasn't theirs.
Yes.
And then they freak out and shave their head.
But we don't know what the script is anymore. And it would be wrong of us, for myself as a parent, it would be wrong of me to suggest that my children do what I think that they should do at this stage in life, because the world is, who knows?
Who knows?
They're welcome. They have to forge their own way and make their own way in life.
Well, they've got a wonderful mother to help them along.
Thank you. Thanks, Valerie.
Thank you very much for coming. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize it would go on
That's all
for
right, I
this
can
long.
talk.
This went on way longer than I